Oh my god, you are so stupid.
If you had a brain, you'd be dangerous.
Look at you. You're disgusting. Nobody will ever want you.
Why can't you just do something good for a change?
You're useless.
You're good for nothing.
You're nothing without
I
me.
wish I had never had you.
If you had a brain, you'd be
The
dangerous.
world would be a better place
You're
without you.
disgusting.
I wish you were dead.
Waking up from narcissistic abuse can be extremely overwhelming. It's called coming out of the fog, and that is a perfect term for it. If you grew up with a narcissistic parent or parents, the abuse you lived with was your normal. You probably didn't even know that you were being abused because you didn't know any different. But although you didn't know any different, you learned how to react to the abuse. You learned not to talk badly to strangers or outsiders about the parent or parents because you knew it could come with repercussions. You learned at an early age to start walking on eggshells. You learned to survive. If you grew up with a narcissistic parent or parents, you probably didn't have much of a social life. You may not have had any friends at all because the controlling parent wouldn't allow it. If you did have a social life, chances are that you had a curfew that involved you being home at like 7 p.m. while your friends got to stay out until like 10 or 11. And chances are there was a guilt trip thrown at you about going out. Perhaps you stopped going out with your friends just to avoid the BS that was sure to follow. Because to the narcissist parent or parents, having fun wasn't allowed. And since friends weren't allowed, you can bet that neither was having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I bet they ruined a lot of those relationships too. Because being happy and in love just wasn't allowed. To the narcissist parent, you are their property. They own you. They bought you into this world. They created you, and therefore you owe them. How dare you go out into the world looking for happiness or your own identity? To them, you are an object that they can control. They don't look at you like normal parents look at their children. They don't want to protect you or even love you. They want to control you and see you miserable, just like they are. A narcissistic partner is not much different from the parent. They're all about power and control too. They don't want you to have your own independence or your own identity. They see you as an object, just like the parent did. They see you as competition, not a partner. And in that competition, they must win. And that means you must be destroyed emotionally. And when they see you waking up to it, they will either love bomb you or gaslight you to gain your trust back and to keep you confused. And then the mind games begin and the cycle of abuse plays out all over again. But then one day, something wonderful happens. Although it probably won't feel wonderful at the time, you discover narcissistic personality disorder. And suddenly it's like the dam broke and 1,000,000 tons of water, a tsunami is gushing at you and you get bowled over. At first, you may feel as though you are drowning as you try to take in a breath of air from all the information that is coming at you, and your wonderful brain is trying to process it all. It can become extremely overwhelming as everything suddenly starts to make sense. Your anxiety will peak and you will probably suffer from anxiety attacks as that fight or flight instinct gets set off. Suddenly, everywhere you look, you see monsters. Suddenly, you start noticing those traits in yourself, and the horror sets in that maybe it's you who is the narcissist. Maybe it's you who is the monster. Now stop. Take a deep breath and breathe and listen very carefully. You are not a narcissist. If you believe you are a narcissist, you are not a narcissist. Narcissists are incapable of introspecting. And let's not forget, it's not them. It's everyone else after all. No, you are not a narcissist. What's happening is that so much new information, so much truth is coming at you that your brain is having a difficult time trying to figure out where to file everything. It's brain explosion after brain explosion. For me, when I discovered narcissistic personality disorder, I became so overwhelmed that my brain just kind of shut down one day, and I ended up being taken out of my house on a stretcher and taken to the hospital. I was diagnosed with vertigo because I had the spins so bad. But the reason why I was taken to the hospital in the first place was because my blood pressure was high. Not deathly high, but still high. The vertigo went away after about 3 days, but I believe it happened because my brain just couldn't take the information flooding in and just couldn't function properly anymore, as it created a lot of stress in me. So it just shut down one day and caused my body to go into turmoil. Luckily, it wasn't anything too serious and I recovered after a few days. And I got through it. Eventually, my brain learned to adjust to the information coming in and began to file things away properly. Eventually, the information became knowledge and no longer became overwhelming. And one thing I should mention that also helped immensely was going to talk to a counselor about what was going on. Through counseling, I was able to learn with and deal with the anxiety attacks and the nightmares. She helped me to understand what was going on. It was also through counseling that I discovered I was codependent. And that was a whole other beast in itself. Now, I was discovering more mind-blowing information that pertained to myself. Luckily, this time I wasn't taken out of the house on a stretcher. Waking up from narcissistic personality disorder, in a way, can feel like you have just been run over by a bus, followed by a tsunami, followed by an aircraft carrier. Some days you're going to be extremely confused and will be wondering which way is up and which way is down, and expect your emotions to be all over the place. One day you will be down in the dumps and won't even feel like getting out of bed. Other days you will feel like a warrior, ready to seize the day. This all falls under the stages of grieving: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. The stages of grieving don't just pertain to someone who is dying or who has lost a loved one. The end of a relationship can cause these stages too. And the stages don't fall in this particular order, and some stages can repeat and some stages you never go through. Some people may begin with acceptance and then fall into depression and then back to acceptance and then anger. Others may skip the depression stage and only deal with the anger stage. And some may go straight to the acceptance stage and never deal with any of the other stages. Either way, what I'm trying to say is that there is nothing wrong with you, and you are certainly not going crazy, and you are not crazy. I liken discovering narcissistic personality disorder and finally realizing that it has had a huge impact in your life as shedding your skin. Shedding the old skin and growing into the new. It's like the throes of death and birth pains happening at the same time. And you don't have to discover narcissistic personality disorder to go through all this. Just being discarded or treated badly by a toxic person can cause these stages to happen. But eventually things will calm down. The sun will begin to shine through the thick dark clouds, and beauty will shine through once again. Like a line from the song The Rose by Bette Midler, just remember, in the winter, far beneath the bitter snow, lies the seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes the rose.